It's the Revved Up Sports Show with Bobby Chaffee.
We do have this nice little format that we try to follow every week. We don't usually follow it.
And Rodney Rodriguez.
Entertain me. Tell me something. I need to know something other than what I'm seeing.
Y'all ready? Here we go. Here's Bobby and Rodney.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard
The what? The Rush Train. And there's going to be a lot of passengers tonight because it is a special edition of Hashtag Real Race Talk from the state of Texas. Showtime, Bobby Chaffee down south, Rodney Rodriguez up north. We have the territory covered. Got to talk a little local racing. And coming up at 6 o'clock, the main event. we talked to the man, Nick Stoop. How about that?
Yeah, definitely. That dude's something else, isn't he? He's getting so much pub this week, and deservedly so, for being able to just live out your dream and take off down to Bristol Motor Speedway and hanging out over there. That's pretty cool, man. That's getting a chance to live your dream and enjoying life at the same time. So that's pretty awesome.
That's really what it's all about right there. And just the story of it, if you're not familiar with it, you can go back and, well, he'll tell it. We'll get him to talk about it in his own personal words right there as he comes up at 6 o'clock. We'll talk about that and really what it was. Just a regular guy went down to the Bristol Dirt Track Nationals, took a regular car, took a true car down there and jumped in and played. And he lived out a dream. I saw where, there was a post where it said so-and-so won $50,000, but this dude lived a life dream. And that's really what this sport's all about.
It really is. It was Jonathan Davenport who won the super late model race, won $50,000. Actually, did a hell of a job there too, starting 10th, and ended up winning the big show up there. But it's $50,000 versus a priceless memory. You can't really trade either one. Both those guys got a chance to do something pretty special by racing at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Absolutely. Nick coming up here in just a little bit at the top of the hour, so we will talk with him. Quickly to our local racing, because I've already seen one of them fall by the wayside. I saw RPM Speedway, and hopefully all the folks that may have been – this has been a crazy weather week, and obviously the racing comes after the fact. But we've watched a lot of different things happening on the weather cycle, and RPM already too wet to race on Friday night, so that's one down. But from everything that I've been able to tell for the rest of the moving forward, I don't know. I saw some weekend precipitation, but I don't think it's anything that's going to affect any of our tracks. So everybody's still a go except RPM, and that's I think everybody's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think everybody's going to be fine. I checked the weather forecast for Edna down there in Texana, and it looks like the weather's going to be pretty good down there. So no major instances there. It looks like Cotton Bowl should be fine unless there's some kind of rogue shower, thunderstorm that rolls through there. Typically if it's going to rain, it'll rain Saturday morning over there at Cotton Bowl Speedway. But everything looks good. Might get a afternoon storm or something there in Waco, but hopefully everybody works out okay there with Heart of Texas Speedway and everything. It's racing season's here, and it always coincides with thunderstorm season. So that's
spring.
One of those.
Yeah,
spring.
The scary thing about this year is when this time of year rolls around, that's when you get all the hail and all of that. It's the scary stuff that pops its head up this time of year. So hopefully everybody's good. But yeah, Waco should be good on Friday night. Of course, Bobby said Texana, Cotton Bowl 105. You're good there. The only one that's gone by the wayside so far here is RPM, and hopefully that will be the only one that goes by the wayside. Oh, I don't think we talked about, Bobby, the other day over on the asphalt side. So this week over in Cordele, we've got the Spring Nationals there, as you've got the Southern Super Series and the CRA Pro Late Model. So a big weekend coming up there. That looks like a lot of fun. I've already started to see over at Crisp, where the calm before the storm, as we talk about weather, where they're getting ready. And that's going to be a fantastic racing show right there.
Yeah, lots of the heavy hitters. Obviously, it's part of the Southern Super Series schedule. So all of your mainstays there at the Southern Super Series will be there in racing action, trying to win. I think it pays, what, 10 grand? Is it 10 or 15 grand to win?
I think it's 10.
Either way, that's a lot of coin to put in the bank account come Sunday morning. So there'll be all the regular cast of characters will be there. The Bubba Pollards, the Stephen Nassies, and then some of your other ones that are generally there. But for the most part, that race is rock solid. Crisp always puts on a really good show. Of course, they didn't get to have Speed Fest earlier in the year, but it looks like the Spring Nationals are all set up and ready to go.
And I did see totally firmed up. The Border War there with the Cars Tour and the Southern Super Series. That's on April the 10th. The harrisonsworkwear.com 150, also $10,000 to the winner of that one. And that one will be over at Greenville Pickens. So asphalt really starting to pick up as well here in Texas. With Houston, we've got Gina and everything happening in Houston on April the 3rd. So that's getting ready to go as well. But, of course, a big topic. I mean, this is a huge week because there's a lot of folks that are super excited. You've got the NASCAR dirt race coming up, and obviously the Bristol Dirt Track Nationals were last week. But this is where we really get that test. And, you know, I saw where they were saying, a little test last night. No, that wasn't a test. I mean, no offense to the iRacers, but let's get them on Bristol. Let's get them on the big track, and let's let them go and let them practice and let them qualify. And that's when we'll get a feel for what we're going to have there. But a huge week. It's been since 1970 that you've had, you know, these NASCAR or the Cup Series on dirt, and here we go. We're going to roll the dice and see what happens.
Well, we still said since the beginning this race is probably not going to be very good. Now, granted, like we said, we both hope we're pretty wrong with the race the way that it is, but it definitely the excitement is there. I don't know if it's excitement for it almost feels like there's been a bit of "I told you so," right? It feels like you get that little bit of the dirt chip on the shoulder where it's like, we told you the Cup cars needed to be on dirt,
yeah,
and now they're there. So I mean, I just hope that the race ends up turning out to be pretty decent. I just don't know how that track. They're going to have to do lots of track prep all night long to end up surviving for 250 laps around Bristol. So that'll be interesting to see. They announced the lineups today. 4 heat races. Mm-hmm. Quinn Huff is on the pole for one of the races.
Yikes. Well, and you know, when we had Lawrence on here on Monday, we were talking about, he said the same thing that we've talked about, and now we actually hear from somebody that really knows, so we can say that we're reporting it. I mean, how is this track going to hold up? I mean, we're talking about these huge 35, 400-pound boxes that are going to be rolling around. 250 laps is a long time, and for that to happen, I mean, it's never been. And again, you have to give a pat on the back there to NASCAR because they're doing it. You know, if they'd have run, you know, what was last night's little exhibition, 70 laps. I mean,
70 laps. Yeah,
you can't do that, but. I mean, you got to do something. I mean, hell, I guess it could be worse. They could have tried 500, but it's going to be a sure test, and I hope the track holds up. But I do forecast at some point there's going to be a long red flag in there for track prep because it's going to fall apart. It's going to fall apart.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's definitely going to be. They'll be farming. I think that's what Clint Boyer jokingly called it last night, is farming the racetrack. So they'll definitely be doing a lot of that. Coming up here within the next couple of days and during the race. I think it's going to be interesting how well the turnaround goes between the truck race on Saturday night into the Cup race on Sunday afternoon. I don't know exactly what their game plan is. I'm sure they've got a contingency plan in place to kind of go in and work the track once the truck series ends up being done. And so that's going to be a way to see how well the track will hold up for sure.
Yeah, they'll definitely have to get in there and do some work on it, but because they will have a good idea. And I don't know how many laps the truck race is on Friday night, but that'll give a good idea. Because if you want to talk about, well, I mean Xfinity also, but I mean I think that's going to be the one that's going to be the best race. That's probably going to be the best race. And like we talked about, you know, on Saturday there's a lot of run, there's a lot of excitement there with all the Cup guys and so forth that are going to go over to that one. Kind of sucks for the truck guys, you know, because they're going to get, you know, they're going to get left behind. I mean, when you get Larson and all of these guys that are going to jump over, Bubba Wallace, you know, that's a situation where for the regular truck teams, it's like, oh, okay, you know, here's our big poobah. You're going to spoil it, letting all these guys come in. I mean, it's kind of one of those. Won't use the term, but kind of one of those where you're all excited and boom, it gets ruined. I'm like, well, that sucks for them, you know. So I don't know, but I do think the trucks will be really, really good on Friday night.
I think the trucks will steal the show the entire weekend. I think it's going to be the best dirt race for the trucks in a couple of years. Obviously, the Eldora races got a little stale.
Yep.
The last couple of years they were running, so I don't think that it had the pizzazz that it once had after 5 years. The one that's going to be interesting, we keep talking about Bristol. I'm still going to be surprised to see how the truck race ends up being at Knoxville.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Big old flat track, trying to get those trucks to turn down there. So that's one of the you have to try to see how everything shakes out there at Knoxville. But I think the truck race at Bristol this weekend is going to steal the show.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things that will come out of the weekend is one of two things where, we said it's either going to be a huge success or a fail. But I think that once we get through it and we figure out which one of those it is, we're going to figure out, okay, we tried it. I'll go with what we all seem to be forecasting. Okay, we tried it. It didn't work. This concept, while it was great, we posted something on the Facebook page from 1966, I think it was. There was a dirt track race, and we posted that. And obviously, look at that. I mean, that's the best example right there, where you look at that versus what we're doing now. And that's where we talk about these cars. Like Bobby says, I mean, you build these to run 200 and plus miles an hour. I mean, they are not built to do this. So you have to applaud that they're trying it. And I think NASCAR tried it because they went. Fox apparently was the one that wanted it. They were the ones that were really pushing it. But either we're going to figure out, okay, this concept doesn't work, or the exact opposite. The 180 of it. Maybe we get more dirt track racing. But Bobby, I just saying this car is not built for it. What we have coming in the Cup Series sure as hell is not conducive for this stuff.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to run a sports car on a dirt track, even if this race is successful.
No.
There's no way they're going to run a sports car on a dirt track. Independent suspension all the way around that, all the way around it, 18-inch aluminum wheels.
No.
There's no way you can.
No, you bottom the oil pan on. Well, I don't even know if those cars where the oil pan is, but so do you think this could be a scenario where let's say this goes off and it's great, really, really good, and everything works out, and it's not the gloom and doom that we're predicting. And again, the gloom and doom we're predicting is not because it's not a stab at anything. It's just the concept just doesn't seem to be right. But if this works, do they maybe keep this 2021 car and that becomes the dirt car and they run at Bristol and maybe some other track? I don't see that Bristol is going to not run 2 pavement races anymore. That's a waste. No offense, that's a waste.
It really is. It's surprising. I mean, Bristol's getting their money's worth out of this dirt they put down there. Obviously, with the Bristol Dirt Nationals that they had last weekend, the success that it was. You've got the Cup Series and the Truck Series running this weekend. They're on the dirt, and then you've got the World of Outlaws running not this upcoming weekend because it's Easter, but the weekend after. The World of Outlaws will be returning to Bristol for the first time in 10 years. So that they definitely have found a way to get all of their get all their eggs into the basket in terms of trying to make it more financially feasible to cover the cost that it takes to take all those hundreds of or thousands of truckloads of dirt in there to cover up that concrete surface.
Yeah, and I will say one thing that I'm super super proud of. And of course, we'll talk to Nick Stoop here in just a little bit at 6:00. One thing that I really am proud of for our sport is it really does seem like, as all of this with this event coming up and the Dirt Nationals last weekend and the interest there, there was obviously some outside interest maybe from regular racing folks because of what was coming up this weekend. I really think that maybe that bridge is being gapped between dirt and asphalt. And I mean, it's always the whole which is better, and I mean, it doesn't have to be about that. I mean, I think something that we should know when we look at, we were talking about CC Speedway the other day closing down. I think the one thing that we need to be happy about right now is that we have racetracks and surfaces don't matter anymore. And that's really the underlying factor right now is it doesn't matter if it's dirt or if it's asphalt, it's short track racing, and we all just need to be one. Quit talking shit about the other, and let's just move forward as one united sport.
I mean, that's the way it should be, right? I mean, and motorsports as a whole should do the same thing. It shouldn't be about drag racing. It shouldn't be about circle track racing. It shouldn't be about road course racing. In the world of motorsports, we're all one big happy family.
Yep.
That's the part that makes this whole thing tick. Does NASCAR move the needle the most? Yeah, because they're the most successful. Does IndyCar move the needle for some people? Yeah, absolutely. Is it short track only? Sure. There's some of those guys and girls out there too that love nothing but short track racing and don't care about anything that happens on Sunday except for going to church.
And that's totally fine. I mean, and that is totally fine. But I think now, and this is where I think NASCAR has, I hate to say inadvertently, but I think that NASCAR has inadvertently, done a real solid here for dirt track racing because they're putting them on a big platform right here, and a lot of folks that have no idea what dirt track racing is are about to get exposed to it, because there's going to be casual, NASCAR fans that maybe watch for a little bit every Saturday or Sunday whenever the Cup race is. They're going to turn that on Sunday, not really knowing the concept of it. They're going to sit there, they're going to watch it, and at least at the start of the race, like we're crying gloom and doom, like I said, at least at the start of the race, they're going to like it. I guarantee you they're going to like it, because when they fire out of the box, man, that's going to be some fantastic stuff happening right there.
Well, I mean, we got to give the Cup teams, like Lawrence says, we got to give the Cup teams more credit on getting the cars to get around the dirt.
Mhm.
We already know the Cup Series, they're not going to half-ass it. I mean, that is a points-paying race, and winning that race gets you into the playoffs to get you qualified for $1 million race in the All-Star race. So the teams are going to try everything they can to win. I think it's going to be a lot of bragging rights if you find a way to win, and there's a lot of teams that have a chance to make an impact that they wouldn't have any. They say that the draft at Daytona and Talladega is the great equalizer. Right now, the dirt track stuff that they're going to have raced in there is going to be the huge equalizer, where you're going to see teams like Rick Ware trying to finish in the top 15, especially if there's a big pileup going into turn one on a restart.
And here's something folks need to think about. Speaking of that, with Cup teams and setups and all of that, with one team in particular, I think that folks are maybe not thinking about that's going to be a factor into this is you set your fantasy lineups. Remember, we've got ours. You could win a TV from AV Consultations at the end of this, but you have to think about Martin Truex. Remember, there's a guy on that team that puts together some suspension parts for some very successful dirt teams. And if you saw, watch Truex. Truex might surprise some people, I think, this weekend in a dirt car.
Yeah, he definitely could.
That car's going to be set up. That car's going to be set up.
Yeah, Blake will have that thing rocking and rolling. This will be the week that Blake is going to be the shock specialist and the spring specialist and everything else. They'll have a way to take advantage of all the Joe Gibbs resources and the experience he's got racing on dirt for stuff that could work. So Truex runs a chance of being really successful. I think the dark horse for me is somebody that nobody is talking about that may have a shot at running well. I don't know if they've got the resources it takes to win, but look at Ricky Stenhouse. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of dirt experience. Nobody's really talking about him. Everybody's talking about Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, and that's about it. It's they're talking about one of those two is going to be the ones that's going to have the check written out to them at the end of the day. But I think there's going to be way more players than just the two of those guys.
Austin Dillon gets up on the wheel on dirt tracks. That's another guy you might keep your eye on. He's done it a lot lately, and he's been pretty good. So hey, thanks to everybody. The Corpus Christi segment this past Monday was a huge hit apparently, and just good stuff right there. There have been so many folks that have been reaching out, wanting some more of that. And like we said, it's more of a just paying tribute to the place where, like we said, these tracks in the past have died and they're just gone, and we really have no opportunity to pay any, dedicate anything to them. And that's really what we were doing there with Lawrence, and the feedback has just been tremendous. And here in just a little bit, I'll tell you who's the next one. I haven't even told Bobby yet. But it's really cool. And again, that's where you see that Corpus Christi community. They're just, that's some rabid race folks right there. Like, I mean, Nick Stoop would fit in Corpus Christi, because there's a lot of folks in Corpus Christi like him, where they just go, they just race, they just go to have fun, and that's what it's all about. And CC's always been like that, and I'm really excited to kind of take that a little further and talk about CC Speedway some more, because there were some pretty animated folks there on Monday night and Tuesday into Wednesday.
Yeah, there really was a lot of good feedback. Obviously, Corpus Christi is a special place in Texas racing history. Lots of good racing. You and I both love the track, both from the announcing standpoint, the competitive standpoint of the racetrack, and then also just the way that how much fun that place is to drive, minus the dip out of turn 4 and that wall that jumps out at you coming in the front straightaway. But I think that it would be. I think that this Corpus Christi series we've got coming up, for the fans that aren't so much aware of all the stuff in the history of Corpus Christi, I think they'll be pleasantly surprised at how much history it really has.
And what the plan is, we're gonna double up, because we had Lawrence, and then we'll have another one on Monday, and then we'll just kind of keep bringing them in. We'll just kind of keep bringing them in while it's fresh. And I was talking to somebody where they said, well, isn't that like worsening the pain, or what do they say, sticking the dagger in further or anything? I'm like, no. it's not like the place was racing 2 weeks ago and it's gone. You know, we've known, maybe we didn't want to be realistic about what was going to happen with the racetrack, but we had an idea what was going to happen. I think what this really does is it affords the opportunity to really, like we're talking about, tell some of these stories. And it's funny, and that's what I like so much about when we do like what we did on Monday, is we get folks telling stories like that. And I've had folks that have messaged me that, I mean, you haven't seen their name in a long time, but somehow they got a hold of that video, and man, they're all juiced up, and hell, they want to have fun, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. It's paying homage to the long history that it's got down in Corpus Christi.
Right.
At one point, it was one of the longest active asphalt tracks in the nation.
Yeah, for sure.
For as many years as it was running, and it's changed hands. There's been a couple of different owners, but it's just such a cool place in our minds because of all the cool stuff that we got to see and do down there. And you know, we love the race fans down there, and they were hardcore just like the racers. And you know, when you have a fight, it's one, you know you're in a great place when you have a fight on the racetrack that leads to 2 or 3 fights in the grandstand.
Yeah, and if you really go back and you watch that flying Carlucci video, I didn't really notice it until I went back and rewatched it. Where when he gets stuck in the wall, you just see the mass of people going, and I think that's what, like Lawrence was talking about on Monday night, where it happens and right down the aisle there, everybody goes towards turn 4, and when you get, exactly, you know, that, like we said about Austin, and I know it held true in Corpus Christi. I mean, you went, and a lot of times the action was more in the grandstands. And I think that night was probably, I would venture to guess, that night was probably one of those nights. There's no telling what happened after that video stopped.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's no telling that same thing probably messed along for another 6-8 weeks after that. That was back when we raced every single weekend. Something that would be unheard of today.
Yeah.
And race it every single. I don't know how we talk about it all the time. I don't know how we managed to do it, both from a race car standpoint, a racing standpoint, and from a fan standpoint, to sit there and be every single week at the racetrack. That's almost. I can almost. When we first switched to every other week, we thought we were crazy. Never thought we'd do it that way again. Now, hell, once a month, it's like, damn. That's a long time.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. And to that story, I mean, obviously, when we saw that, and we talk about, you know, how long it held over, and you know what happened after, and so forth and so on. Monday night, right here at 7 or 6:30. Monday night at 6:30, we will have the Flying Carlucci right here on this program. So we will talk to Greg. We'll talk to Greg, and he can tell us how it happened. Well, we saw how it happened. He can break it all down. We'll get it firsthand. We'll find out what all he hurt. There you go.
He called you, right? Did he call you, or did you call him?
No, I called him. I called him because as all of this was going on, he posted somewhere, hey, where do I get this video? And so I'm like, I got it. I got it for you. And so we kind of went back and forth, and I said, so are you ready for Monday? He's like, oh, man, I've got some stories. And I said, I bet you do. So Monday night, if you missed it, we'll play the sounder for you once again. Monday night, for the first time in history, Russ gets looched.
That's right. You know, you got a hell of a story behind you when you have your own verb named after you.
Yeah. The Carlucci's, man, that will be fun. That will be fun. That's one where you may want to, you know, get yourself some whiskey, get a 6 or 12 pack of beer. He said stories with an IES, so it's maybe an extended version of the old program coming up on Monday. That right there is going to be a lot of fun.
He's got a lot of stories. He's been in a lot. In not a bad way, been in a lot of incidents at the racetrack too. So not so much in a bad way, but yeah, looking forward to spending some time with Greg and everything that he can bring to the program there coming up on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll definitely get a lot of insight from him. You know, just because of the history, the backstory, and everything. Because you know, the Carlucci family just so synonymous there with CC Speedway, and still doing it. I mean, you know, over at South Texas, and you know, at Edna, you know, you'll probably see a Carlucci on the track there Saturday night when you're there. But I really do think that could be one of the all-timers right there when old Carlucci hits here. He's I did tell him, I'm like, you know, you're free to say whatever you want to say. He's like, okay, that's even better.
Well, I think I saw it today as a Facebook memory. Today is the either third year, second or third year where we've had the to go back to the Terry Labonte interview that we had, and he talked a lot about the old school stuff with CC Speedway, and so that would be a cool time to go back in. All of if you're new to the program, all of the archives are available at revvedupsportshow.com, all the way back to the very beginning. They're all there. We're also available on all your different streaming platforms where you have iTunes, Google Play stores. We're there too. So anywhere you can get anywhere you're able to get a downloadable podcast, we're there. But the best place to go is probably going to be revvedupsportshow.com. That's with two S's. Don't forget Revved Up Sports Show. And so it'll be one of those things where we'll have a way to see how everybody likes some of the old school videos. If also Slick Yeomans is on there. Had a chance to have Slick Yeomans on the program before, talking about some of his early days in Corpus Christi. So if you're a fan of Corpus Christi Speedway like we are, there's a lot of content dealing with the history of that racetrack down at the Bayside City there.
Oh yeah, just a great place to watch races. I love it. I love it. Really good stuff. But we are heading to the hotline. This is huge. This is a big deal for us because we are just racing folks. That's what Bobby and I. That's why we do this program. And the gentleman we have on the Revved Up Sports Show hotline, he has stolen the headlines for doing exactly what we love to do. He's just a racer. He just loves to race. He's nationwide. It is Mr. Nick Stoop. Nick, how you doing, sir?
Fine. How you doing this afternoon?
We're doing great. So have you had to? Do you have to have like the Secret Service with you now after all this?
This has blown me away. I mean, I'm just a little old simple person from Mississippi.
Yep.
And all this happened just because I went up there and had a slow, ugly car, what I call it.
That's all right, man. That is all right. It did the trick. Sorry, Bobby. Go ahead.
So, Nick, before we get to Bristol, let's talk about you and your racing, man. We know you love the sport by just coming in and trying to race at Bristol, but let's talk about how you got involved in this crazy sport that we love.
I was working at a local factory up here, and a friend of mine that I met up there named Ben Muller was working with me, and he asked me to help him work on his race car. Started helping him, and one night I asked him to hot lap the car. Said, okay, I hot lap, and I told him one weekend I'd like to drive. Next weekend, he went up there and drew the number. He come back down there, and at that time, they'd be 60, what we call factory stock cars.
Mm-hmm.
And he said all the ones that's kind of crazy wouldn't run over you, running in his group. He said, tonight's your night, Nick. And the funny thing is, we was walking down there, me getting the car. I told Ben, I said, I'm chickened out, get in there and drive. He said, Nick, if you do not get in there and drive that car, he said, it'll sit here all night, go watch the races, we'll load it up and carry it home. And I thought, well, I got to climb in there. I remember the last thing Ben told me, Nick, you don't get hurt, you tear this thing up, we'll try to have nothing next week, start working on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And from then on, every weekend, Ben told me, get in there and drive.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's actually, so is that where you guys got the motto, race it, break it, fix it, repeat?
Yep. Work all day, work on your car at night. I've always been, I fix everything I can. That's what I got. Let's go.
That's awesome. I love that.
So what's the racing landscape like over there in Mississippi? Is it a bunch of dirt tracks all together? I mean, how many race tracks do you have to choose from when you get a chance to race on Friday and Saturday nights over there?
On a Saturday night, usually over here within 60 miles, got about 4 tracks. Now, if you want to travel about 100 miles, you can go up to about 8. Columbus, Mississippi, we run down there. North Alabama, Moulton sometimes. Our home track is Corinth, or Crossroads, what they call it, but it's Corinth, Mississippi.
Wow, that's so. Nick, let's we were just talking earlier because we got a track here that's being torn down, one of many that have been torn down, and this sport it's just about hanging out, having a good time, drinking beer, talking to people, maybe getting crossed up and pissed off from time to time. But what is racing to you? Why is it so deeply in your heart?
I just love it. Plus, like you say, you meet great people that will help you do anything to fix your car, just to get out there to see how hard they can run against you.
Mm-hmm.
I met some I had a friend passed away not too long ago. Ed Stearns helped me as much as anybody. I've had to work on a Saturday. Ed would come down here to the shop, work on my car all day long. I'd come in from work. It's ready to go, Nick. I said, well, let's go. He said, I'm tired. I'm going home. Call me in the morning or come by and tell me how you doing.
I love it.
That's great. That's great.
That's one of the things that hurts me, that Ed, friend of mine's not with us. Kenny Wheeler, another man that went racing with us. Both of them is gone, and it hurts me they're not here to see this.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about the hot rods you have there. Obviously, we've got pictures of it. We've seen it all over the place, seen YouTube videos of it, seen pictures of it on the racetrack. Let's talk about that piece. So what class do you run in, and is that as bone stock as it appeared when you had a chance to run at Bristol versus some of those other souped up street stocks?
It's pretty much bone stock. They'll let us run a 360 cubic inch Chevrolet engine, Vortec heads. You can put headers on it. We have to pull 19 inches of vacuum, or I'm sorry, 16 inches of vacuum at 900 RPM.
Yeah.
3,000 pounds, no weight jacks, no burnt brim transmissions. Matter of fact, my old car, I'm running a Power Glide.
Wow. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. So with this car right here. So let's talk about this car. Tell everybody about on the hood about the Grim Reaper. I just love that story right there. When I started digging into that, I think that's just so cool. And again, just really talks about why you do this.
I just always liked the Grim Reaper. My daughter Tony, she was real good at art. Won a lot of T-shirts when she's in high school, and told her, I said, I want a Grim Reaper on the hood of my car. She looked at me, she said, what's a Grim Reaper, Daddy? I said, well, you got that computer, go in there and look. I out there in a little while. She said, Daddy, there was a lot of them. She said, but look, I kind of, took what they had, and here's what I got. And I bought her some paint, carried it in her room, and I don't know, about 3 or 4 hours later, me and Ed went in there and toted it out to the car.
That's great. That is so great, Nick. I love that. That is so awesome.
But now that's one thing that I'm proud of. That that car, that Grim Reaper, means a lot to me because she painted it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So what other support do you get from your other family? Obviously, you got your daughters tried to evolve with the paint scheme and stuff like that. Do you got any family that helps you out on a weekly basis on this extreme racing team you got?
My daughter sometimes goes to the races with me. And Jenna, my other daughter, when she was little, it was hard to keep her out of the shop. All my kids are pretty much grown. They're out from the house working,
Yeah, that's fantastic, and it really is. It's a family sport. So talk about like for you on a race night. I mean, we see these teams that come rolling up and big rigs and all this stuff. And they don't want to talk to the fans. They don't want to deal with the fans. But like and I know for you, it's all about talking to fans, doing stuff with the fans. I mean, because they're the people that are coming out to watch us.
Yeah, I talk to fans. All of them that won't talk to me, I'll try. One of the things I do every now and then in a hot summertime in Mississippi, you roll in the pits with a thing full of homemade ice cream.
Wow.
You can make a lot of friends in a hurry.
I bet. Yeah. Cold ice cream.
Times a year, we'll carry homemade ice cream. People come by, dip it in a cup for them, talk, have fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cold ice cream and cold beer tend to make you a lot of friends.
And the little kids go crazy over that ice cream. They will come back and back to get more usually.
Yes, sir. That's for sure.
And one of the things I say is little kids or younger people, if our sport wants to stay around, we need them at the racetrack so that, they're going to be the racers of the future.
There you go. We say that all the time, and people just don't seem to get it. And I always say to folks at the racetrack, I'm like, you hook one kid or one family, they're going to make mama and daddy bring them back to the racetrack next time.
Yep. And like I say, them kids is going to be the racers of the future.
That's right.
Nick, why do you think there's a disconnect between some of the younger kids now and cars in general? It seems like it takes an arm and a leg to try to get these kids away from these little screens they got on their cell phones and tablets. Once we get them to the racetrack, we can get them hooked, but I just don't know why there's such a disconnect between kids and cars nowadays.
That's right. I don't know either. Kids, I reckon they was brought up different from what I was. We always worked on our old cars and stuff like that even when I was a kid in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it, we had to.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You didn't know any different. I mean, I think that's where it is so different. So your team, talk about the X. I like the extreme. I like the extreme racing, but every one of those cars has the X right there. Is there a story behind that, or you guys just like extreme, or y'all extreme, or how did that come about?
Ed Stearns used to call his race shop Race Central.
Nice.
Well, we work on our cars a lot is Race Central. We was looking for a name. Somebody come up with Extreme Racing. We decided, and like for Ed and the people that Kenny that's not with us no more, we put that on our car kind of as a symbol to them that still think about them every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great tribute. Very great tribute.
So we know about the X. Nick, tell us about the number. Was that the only number that was available? Did you have 74 on you when you played football in high school? How'd you land on that number 74? Because it's pretty famous now with the 74X.
The way that number happened, me and Ben took his car down there when we got it. Forget who he got it from, but he got us a car. We carried it down there. It had a number 7 on the side. There was already a number 7 out there. We had some tape. We said, what's the easiest number to make? We decided it was a 4. So we put a 74 on it. It's been that ever since.
Oh my God, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. So we'll talk about the Bristol race here in just a minute. But the car itself, I hear the car is called a tank. What is that? Is that a Cutlass? That's a Cutlass, isn't it?
It's actually an 82 Cutlass.
Nice.
That I bought from a boy. Had it sitting behind his house, and it was a diesel car when it come out.
Whoa!
It's a diesel frame, which I reckon is the same as any of them, but it was a diesel car when it was new.
Wow, that's awesome.
Maybe, and the reason they called it a tank, no car's got 300 foot of tubing in it.
Man.
And there again, I talk about Ed a lot. Me and Ed built that car.
Yeah.
8 months of my life, I worked on that old thing.
Yeah.
The reason I remember that, the day before Christmas, 2007, I set that car on the ground and I sat back and said, well, I know what Santa Claus is bringing me.
Absolutely. Yeah. He had to have a big ass bag for that one, didn't he, Nick, to get that one down the chimney.
But it's been a good one. I've clipped the front end one year. I clipped the rear end one year and put it back together.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty damn good record. That's a pretty damn good record in all those years. If you've only had to do that once, those clips tend to, and that's not easy. And that's not easy to do.
That car, when it started at Bristol, was 14 years old.
Wow.
Oof. So before we get to Bristol, Nick, let's talk about your local racing. Obviously, when we look at the Extreme Facebook page, there's some checkered flags up in there. Let's talk a little bit about you before we get to Bristol. Have you won some track championships over the years? Won some big races? Tell us about you as the racer before we start talking about Bristol.
When that car was brand new in 2008, I was running at North Alabama because our local tracks here close to the house was closed.
Mm.
And in 2008, I won 2 races over there. And I was here at the shop one day. I went over a race to have fun,
Mm-hmm.
Never thought about looking at points and yada, 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 that stuff. A friend of mine, Onion Johnson, called me. He said, Nick, you ever look at the internet? I said, no. He said, well, you need to. He said, that car of yours is track champion over at North Alabama. And I think 2 years ago, finished second by about 2 points at Pine Ridge Speedway down here in Baldwin.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, I won a couple races at Corinth and I finished second in points up there, or by about 2 or 3 points.
That's pretty damn good. That is damn good. The tank takes care of you. That's for damn sure. So leading up to this, so for you, was Bristol something? Was it? Has always been a dream of yours to race there, or was this later, or dating back to way back? How did all this happen? Hit you later in life, or since you were little? Did you say, man, I want to be at Bristol?
I used to watch the races a little bit, never was that much involved until Ben and me started, hanging out and racing together. Racing a NASCAR track never entered my mind. The only other NASCAR track I'd ever been to, and that was just stopped to look at, was Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I know that I'd heard, that they're putting dirt on Bristol, that stuff for NASCAR. And a friend of mine, John Warnicky, called me, told me, said, Nick, they're inviting people to come up there and run. His son's got a 602 late model. He said, I'm putting Jonathan's name in. He said, what about you? I said, well, is there a class my car might run in? He said, yeah, I think so. So he put my name in, and I reckon they said had to draw it out of a hat or spend something. Anyway, I'd about decided, money and all that, I'm just going to back out. I think about the day I got that in my head, he called me. The first words out of his mouth was, we're going to Bristol. He said when they spun that or draw, said it was my name was the second or third one.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome, man. What were you thinking when that happened? Were you like, oh shit, I'm stuck, or were you like, all right, how are we going to get there?
Well, no. Hey, running at Bristol in a dirt car. I mean that after I found out we could, yeah, I'm in for it.
Yeah.
He pulled up the rules of the class that I was going to be running in. When I looked at the rules, I said, I ain't got a chance. I told John, I said, we're going to go up there and make laps. We'll stay out of them boys' way and let them race.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So what was it like? You finally got onto that racetrack at Bristol, got to live the dream that most of us never get a chance of racing at Bristol Motor Speedway. What was it like? Is it as cool in person? Does it look like an old Roman Coliseum when you get up there with all those grandstands and stuff like that? How cool was it to actually be there?
It was great. I've never seen a place that big for people and stuff like that. Big Jumbotron.
Yeah.
My name and car was on that.
Wow.
It's just awesome to me.
Yeah, man, that had to be so cool. So did you? And that's part of the story because you go there, and obviously your car doesn't look like some of those others that are in that class. So did anybody come up to you? I hope nobody was a butthole as all this was going on towards you.
No, we was up there sitting up there on the line, and actually. I drove when I got my stuff, drove 38. I told John, I said, my whole car going to be starting up front. They probably going to run all over me. John, hey, he went out there and he told him, he said, look, he said, we ain't got no gears. We got an old slow car. We're going to try to stay out of y'all's way. Went out there and told all of them, said, said, we're just here to have fun.
Exactly. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
So what did you think of those fancy cars, Nick? I mean, is it one of those guys spending way too much money to race nowadays? I mean, it seems like you're one of more of the cost-effective classes with a pure stock, factory stock kind of class. What do you think of some of these money that some of these guys are spending on these stock cars and these factory stocks?
I don't see how, especially a working man, can afford to race in classes like that. Mm-hmm. They are spending a ton of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that, Nick, do you think, with this, and we'll go back to Bristol, we actually got some of your video there where you're going around the track, and man, I can only imagine how that felt going around there. But hasn't that always kind of been the thing that makes racing just a little tough, and it outprices, the common man, and that kind of stinks?
It does. It's like me, when I decided that I wanted to start racing, instead of paying somebody to build me a race car, I've always welded at work. Is what I do. Mm-hmm. So instead of paying somebody to build me a race car, I bought me a welder. Nice. I figured if I had a welder, I built it, I crashed it, I could fix it, and we could go back racing.
Hell yeah. Yes, sir. That's tremendous. Need more of that. And so I got to ask you, because it's something we always talk about on this show with some of the young up and comers. So were there a lot of guys that were working on their own stuff?
Where I raced, there's quite a few people.
No, at Bristol. At Bristol.
There was a few working. One thing that I seen that amazed me, there was an open wheel car. I walked by it. That man had pulled everything out of his motor except the block, had it scattered out on the pavement. Wow. And I said, "That's way too much work at the racetrack." He was working on pistons. He looked at me. He said, "I'm hoping the man I got a phone call into has got the parts to put it back together."
Yeah.
I walked back there about 3 hours later, 2 or 3. They're hooking up the transmission to that thing down on a rebuilt motor in the pits at Bristol.
Jeez. Do you know, my dad used to tell me when I started racing, he's like, if we got to get to the track and we got to tear stuff apart and try to put it back together, we're not doing that. We're loading up and going home. That stuff needs to be done somewhere other than the track.
I try. Well, that's like sometimes go by yourself, try to have your stuff ready so you do not have to work on it a whole lot at the racetrack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Nick, it seems like you've become America's favorite hometown racer. Everybody has been taken to your story. When they found out that we were going to have you on, everybody got excited and was waiting to hear from you, because you're turning into the next American hero, just like Junior Johnson did. What has been the reaction for you? What's been your reaction to all the love, the support, and just the attaboys that you've been getting since you were racing at Bristol?
I'm just simple, like I said, country boy. As far as Facebook and all that, I don't have it. If it hadn't been for Brittany and Chris, I probably wouldn't even know about half of this stuff.
Yeah.
They've been telling me they can't even sleep at night for the phone going up.
Well, and that's where I was joking with Bobby on here with me, because I told him after I talked to you guys, I said, man, somebody called me for him. I said, hell, he's already big time. When you got somebody got a call for you, that means you got a lot of people ringing up your phone.
That's the way we work, our race team and all. But like I said, if it wasn't for them, I know I couldn't handle it myself.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah, it's a lot. And I bet all this extra doesn't help.
Yeah. That's like me. I'll tell y'all this.
Uh-huh.
Been racing for a long time. Getting in that race car, I was nervous up there at Bristol because, hey, big track, fast cars, just the experience of it all. But usually getting in a race car, little tracks around here, I ain't that nervous. But talking to y'all on this radio has made me nervous.
Oh, shit. No, that's, man, we're as down home as you are, buddy. I can promise you that. If you're going to be doing more of these, this will be the easiest one that you do. I can promise you that.
We've got others lined up. Like I said, one of the things I've asked people, I asked Chris, other buddies, why, Nick? There's thousands of other people out there in the exact same shape I'm in. The only thing is I was lucky enough to get drawn, had friends that wanted to go up there. We went up there. We raced. Jonathan, he done great.
Yeah,
he made the deal. He crashed on the first lap of the race, but he done great. He made top 12 out of all the 602 late models.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good, man. That's really, really good. So what did you, as all this stuff started to happen, somebody posts that video, and so as the weekend was going on, how did this did you start to realize something was happening? Did somebody come tell you, holy smoke, Nick, you're blowing up the social media? Did some point somebody let you know what was going on?
Chris and Brittany, I talk about them a lot, called us 2 or 3 times. So this stuff's going crazy. So Nick just don't know. So this stuff's been took off. It's going crazy. Another friend of mine, they run a 602. They're going to Moulton, Alabama to race. He called me last night. He said, Nick, he said, I've never had Facebook. He said, I made my son, Morgan Lambert, fix our Facebook on the way to the racetrack so I could keep up with this. His daddy and my daddy was big buddies. I knowed him all my life.
Yeah.
He said, we're bouncing off the wall for you. He said, we're so proud.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're all proud. It's great.
You know, Nick, everybody gets a chance. Everybody gets a chance. Sometimes you just got to be in the right place at the right time, just like at a normal racetrack, man. I think that it's cool to show that the average everyday racer like yourself can still make an impact on this sport. And I think that's what the best part about your story is it's, you know, you got a never give up attitude, and you got a really good story about taking a normal race car up to a big show and just doing what it's all about. Sure, winning's great. We all love it when we win races, but just getting out there, having a good time, and doing it for the love of the love of the sport, rather. That's you don't see that a lot. A lot of it's now just kids showing up with big pocketbooks, with daddy buying cars. Not everybody still comes to the track and works on them like you do, and it's just a damn kick-ass story to see how well you've blown up over the social internet after the last couple of days.
Talking about working on it at the racetrack, when I went through the tech line, there's 2 or 3 things you got to fix. So you got to paint your weights again white.
Yep.
You drive shaft.
Yep.
Want to put a piece of plastic over the battery, and he said down here for a drive shaft loop, I just had a big old chain hanging on there. You know, that's good for down here.
Yes, sir.
He said, you're up here. He said, it's got to be metal.
Yeah.
So we checked around, and nobody's got one. He said, he told us, he said, it don't matter if y'all get metal and weld one together. He said, that'll work.
Yeah.
So John, he went to, I think, TCS somewhere, bought some metal, and he had a little wire welder with him. We built me a drive shaft loop in the pits and bolted her on.
That's what we do. I mean, that's seriously what we do. And
what you got to do.
That's exactly
what
right.
You got to do.
So Nick, have you thought, as all this has been going on, have you ever thought, what's the big damn deal? This is what I do. I mean,
there's thousands of other people out there that do the same thing I do. Never get no recognition. Never.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
one thing that I love is, to me, this is not about me, because there was too many people helping me.
That's right.
People let me borrow their truck, and friend Chris got a nice diesel truck and a new trailer. That's what I hauled it up there in.
Oh.
He let me borrow his helmet. I didn't have a Hans device. You got to have one of them up there. He let me borrow it.
Mm-hmm.
The racing suit I had on, John Warnicke's son, Jonathan, outgrowed it, because you had to, around here, just one layer. Up there had to be 2 layers.
Yeah.
I got his racing suit that his son had outgrown. That's the suit I raced in.
Wow. That's awesome. It's good. Takes a team. It takes a team.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I say, I told Chris, Bullet Racing reached out to us, wanted to build us a chassis. Or well, said build me a chassis. To me, I told Chris, I said, everybody in our teams get to drive this car.
I love it. Yes, sir. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Nick, that's what I was going to ask you. As everybody's reached out to you, what's been the strangest gift? Obviously, somebody trying to build you a brand new race car from the ground up is a pretty cool thing and a nice gift. What's some of the other stuff people have been saying they're going to supply you to continue on your racing dreams here?
From what I understand right now, when I go to pick up this car, it's pretty much going to be turn the key, let's go to the races. Man. Rear end, transmission, pretty much everything has been donated. And like I say, I'm in awe. Why Nick?
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
these people been calling. Well, I talked to a man in California that's sending me a motor.
Wow. That's awesome.
He told me, I watched that race to see your car after I seen it. He said, I wasn't interested in a whole lot in them others. He said, I want to see yours.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, I think I saw on y'all's Facebook page that somebody was offering up a wrap. I hope that they're going to wrap. And that's a funny thing. I mean, you remember, Nick, your car's still the same way. When I raced, hell, we painted the numbers. I mean, all this wrap and all that's new stuff. But if they're offering to wrap something, they're not going to wrap the tank, are they? It needs to stay the same way.
Yeah, the new car is what they're talking about.
Oh, good.
The wrap on.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Tank needs to stay the same.
All right, so Nick, a couple of questions before we finally turn you loose. What's next for you, man? When's your next race? This weekend running in Mississippi? What's the next couple of races look like for you in the rest of 2021?
Pretty much this weekend, according to the weatherman in North Mississippi, we will not be racing nowhere.
Oh, you got that shit going on. Nice.
I still got to, gonna try all this going on. I hadn't pulled that car in there and parked it. I've got to at least change the gears before I can go back to these short tracks around here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I bet. Yeah.
One thing that amazes me, like I said, Chris handles all my mail, emails, and stuff. He tells me, he said, Nick, they're wanting you in Texas. They're wanting you in Louisiana to race at the track. I can't understand that, them calling and wanting Nick Stoops to race. That's just, unreal.
Oh man, you come to Texas, let us know. We'll be your PR guys. that would be so cool. So I was thinking about this last night. So what are you going to do? Because it's funny the way all this stuff happens. I would not be surprised, Nick, if they call you at some point and they want the tank. They want to put it in some type of damn racing museum or something. I mean, you gonna turn that old girl loose?
I don't know. I don't know.
Has that called?
I think this, get a new car.
Yeah.
That's a race car. It don't need to be sitting somewhere. It's made to be on a damn dirt track.
That's right. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. You hit the nail on the head right there. Nick, this is thank you so much. I mean, I was trying to reach out just as soon as possible, and man, this has been great.
Hey, can I add one more thing that I'd like to say?
You say whatever you want to say, my man.
One thing I'd like to see, if they do this again at Bristol, I would like for them to have a factory stock class where people like me could go up there and be competitive and put on a good show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that really is what's missing, isn't it? Because what we run into here is we like what you're saying, because the costs are so crazy. There are cars that may look like yours, but my God, they throw the green flag and those son of a guns take off, and I'm like, man, there ain't no way with those rules that car can be the way the rules are written.
But like I said, I'd like to see them, have a class that we could go back up there and compete. Yep. Don't get me wrong, I had a wonderful time. I tell people I spent about, which don't sound like a lot of money to some folks, I spent about $3,000 and I won 100, and I come back with the biggest grin I've ever had.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I bet you were more excited than the guy that took the 50,000 home. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's really what it's all about. But
that's the thing they showed me on the internet, a picture of Davenport standing there with a check, I believe, where he won. Yeah. Said he come to win the money. They got a picture of me standing by my car beside, the picture of Davenport. Said he come to have fun, and both of them went home happy. That's amazing to me. To me, one of the biggest dirt racers, and they got a picture of me standing beside him.
Isn't that great? I saw that. I posted one of those pictures also that I saw, and I just want to thank you, and I think for all of us racing people, because that's what we are. We're racing people. That you drove the point home on a national stage of why we do this, why we sacrifice. Maybe we don't pay a bill or two, we're maybe a little late on stuff because we got to go racing. And I really think that you're showing people around the country what it's all about. And I applaud you, and I thank you, because people need to know what this sport is.
Well, I thank you for having us on this afternoon. And like I said, I just enjoy the sport.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. If you're ever Texas bound, let us know. Let's keep in touch. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you again, my friend.
Okay, thank you much.
You got it. Take care.
You too.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's racing.
That's right.
Right there. 33 minutes of what racing is all about. And I tell you, after talking to him, the story's even better.
It is. I mean, it's one of those things to where it's like he kept wondering, why me? Like I was trying to tell him, sometimes it's just like being on a racetrack. Sometimes you're in the exact right place at the exact right time where you need to be. I think you hit the nail on the head where you said that he got to show what the true racer mentality is on a national stage, where somebody just going out there just to have a good time. And like he said, he spent $3,000, which was quite a bit of money. It's quite a bit of money to me, probably quite a bit of money to you. So $3,000 to go have the time of his life and come back with a smile. That is what this whole sport's all about. Is about trying to live your dreams and having one hell of a good time.
Yeah, and all of you son of a guns they're a little better well off. I mean, you guys in the big rigs and the fancy cars and fancy shocks and all of that. I mean, rewind. Go back and listen to this guy. And yeah, I know winning is great. I mean, absolutely. You race, you want to win, but seriously, this guy epitomizes what why we started doing this, because I think something that a lot of people seem to forget, and I mean maybe even some of the guys that are doing really, really well right now, they seem to forget, especially the older folks. Nick's 60. I think he's 60. What some of these folks forget is, hell, at one time they were struggling and clawing and running cars like this one, like the tank. And it's funny when people start doing well. Maybe they're still somewhat humble, which is great, but they forget the roots, man. They forget the roots. And that dude right there, I mean, he just bitch slapped all of us and said, "Here's reality." And I'm damn glad it happened.
Yeah, no, the tank with the Grim Reaper, that car is going to live in infamy for a long time, and I think it's cool that when you got to make some of the changes like he made, you got to paint the drive shaft white, got to paint the lead white, got to come in and actually make you a homemade drive shaft loop. That is just a kick-ass, feel-good story. That's exactly what racing needs right now. And thanks to Nick Stoop for bringing it to reality, and that, the next great American hero is what I'm calling it.
And Bobby, it really is, because these days when we hear people, oh yeah, I went through tech, and it's stuff, I'm heavy by half a pound, it's all this technical stuff, or somebody's getting in trouble for soaking tires, or somebody, they got something in there. Remember, they got something in their pocket. Maybe they're messing with traction control. But for him to say he's at Bristol and he has it just like we have to do around here, I mean, you got to put a drive shaft loop and do the painting, white, like you're talking about there. I mean, hell, that's where any racer, I don't care what level you're at or where you've been, to hear him say that, man, you go back to, shit, man, I forgot how simple this really is. And that's what we forget. Yeah,
no, it's a great story. I'm glad we had a chance to get him on. I know he's got a lot of other interviews, but I'm glad we got a chance to get him first. So hopefully we broke him in, right? Like you said, this is one of the easiest interviews he'll have with us. Since we're all just regular plain Jane racing folks. So hopefully, if he ends up on a couple other shows, hopefully they treat him as nice as we did and let him tell his story, because it's a damn good story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great story. And you heard it right here. Thanks to Nick Stoop. That's pretty cool. I hope he does come down to Texas. He needs to make the full Texas run. He needs to do Cotton Bowl, Heart of Texas. He needs to hit them all. Have the Nick Stoop Texas tour. That'd be pretty fancy right there.
Especially in that new. Well, you want him to bring the new car? Or you want him to bring the tank?
Both. Bring them both. My goodness. And I like what he said there when we were talking about about the tank being in a museum. No, it belongs on the track. I'd like to see the Daytona 500 winner say that shit.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, but the Daytona 500 winner does get their car in Daytona USA. That's the only time you want your purebred race car, is that car that Michael McDowell won in. It'll end up in a Ford museum for a little bit. It'll end up at the front office there. It's front row motorsports there. So that winning the Daytona 500 is about the only time you want to retire a really good race car.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I guess you do get it back. But I guess it really doesn't matter because it's a little outdated anyway. But thanks to Nick Stoop for checking in. I mean, that was worth the special show right there. And when they said they could do today, I'm like, done. We just want to hear the story, and we'll archive everything and have it put up and all of that good stuff as Nick Stoop joins us. And very fun night. Good way to spend a Thursday night.
Yeah, good way to spend a Thursday night. Everybody, good luck if you're racing on Friday, Saturday, and good luck to the Cup drivers there on Sunday, because it's going to be a great weekend of racing, at least in our neck of the woods. So hopefully everybody else around the country, weather permitting, has a hell of a good time too.
As we said, the only one that RPM is canceled, but other than that, everything is good to go. Weather should be good. We've got stuff throughout, little whatever during the weekend, but I don't think it's anything that's going to hold anybody else up. So I think everybody's going to be good to go. Good to go. Go out and support a local racetrack. Find you a guy like Nick Stoop. Yeah, it's really cool when G-Dub and all these guys are out there, doing what they do. I mean, because they're just so good. But they've paid their dues. Find you a Nick Stoop at the racetrack and be a fan of that guy or girl. That's your mission this week when you hit the short tracks.
That's right. And don't forget to check out his Extreme Racing Facebook page. They've had so much publicity. They're going to make some shirts. Hopefully it'll be a shirt with the Epic Hero. Definitely going to have the tank on the front of it. When those shirts get done, I know me and you are in line to buy some. So can't wait for the shirts to come out for the next great American hero, Nick Stoops.
Revved Up gets looched next Monday. Show at 6. The Flying Looch at 6:30. Bobby down south. I'm Rodney. Enjoy your race weekend, friends. Be good. Take care of each other. That's what it's all about. Enjoy racing. We do this for fun. Just ask Nick. Be good, everyone. Take care.